So here are some more examples. We should definitely have some more examples. So let's do something like this. Simplify. Let's say I to the 5th power. And so what would this look like? Well, this would look, if you do it out old school, kick it old school, we'd have I times I times I times I times I. We can use the fact that I squared is equal to -1 here. So these two, I times I is going to be I squared. We're going to use the fact that I squared is equal to -1 in just a second. These two right here, this would be I squared also. And then we'd be left with one more I at the end. And now let's use the fact that I squared is equal to -1. I squared is equal to -1. And we're left with another I down there. And we have -1 times -1 is +1, so we're left with just an I. Well, that's interesting. Here's a great simplification. I to the 5th is equal to I. Let's simplify I to the 10th power. How's that going to look? Well, there's a lot of ways to do this. Let's go one way this way. We're going to go another way this way. Let's go another way this way. Okay, I to the 10th. Well, we just did I to the 5th, right? And I to the 10th is just I to the 5th times I to the 5th. Right? Exponents add when you multiply with like bases. And what did we say I to the 5th was? Oh, it's right there. I to the 5th is I. So this is I times I. I times I is I squared. We just said that I squared is equal to, said it a few times, -1. Awesome. Let's look at it another way. Z to the 10th. Okay, well, we just look at it as I squared, I to the 5th times I to the 5th. This is 10 i's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all in a row. How many groups of 2 are there? That's I squared. That's the first group. There's another one, another one, another one, another one. So there's 5 of these. I squared. There's 5 I squareds there. Each one is equal to -1. -1, -1, -1, -1. So so let's just go from -1 times -1, +1, then -1, then +1, then -1. So this is equal to -1. Perfect, right? Got the same answer. Z to the 10th. Let's look at maybe even another way. Something else that we know. This could be written as I squared to the 5th power, right? Because exponents, a power to a power, you multiply, and we know that I squared is equal to -1, just like we did on the last one. -1 to the 5th power would just be written out like this, and this would be -1. Okay, so that's raising I to different powers and using some facts that we know. Let's do a big one. Let's do I to the 103rd power. How about that? Well, we could write out 103 i's. That would take a little while. But let's use some facts that we know, and we're going to be a little forward-looking here. I to the 103rd power. We're looking at something about this second power of I being equal to -1. And you can see that this is an odd number, so there is going to be an extra I at the end. So let's just try I times I to the 102nd power. Okay, and how does that how is this going to play out now, right? So let's just write this. We still have this I. That doesn't change. But this 102nd power. Let's use our exponent rules. That this is the same as I squared. Well, I'll do that the long way. This is I squared times I squared times I squared. And there's going to be how many of these? 51 of these, right? There's 51 of these. So that's just like, remember, if I squared is equal to -1, that's -1 times -1, 51 times. It's important that it's 51 times because 51 is an odd number, right? This is 51 of these guys. And if you multiply a -1 51 times, you're going to start seeing a pattern. It's going to just be -1. Actually, it's because it's an odd number of powers of -1. So this is -I. To do this another way, we could look at this as this is equal to I times I to the 4th raised to the 25th power times I squared. Now why does this all make sense? I to the 4th to the 25th power is I to the 100th, plus 2 more is 102, plus 1 more is 103, which gets us back to the original. So we're left here, we have I, that's our first term. Our second term here, I to the 4th, well, I to the 4th is just I squared squared, which is just going to be +1. This might be the easiest way to do it, if you recognize this pattern. And I squared is -1 times -1. And here we have I times 1 times -1. Well, that's just -I, which confirms what we have right there. So that's powers of I, and no matter how you get to the answer, it doesn't matter as long as you're consistent with your use of the definition of I squared being equal to -1.